From the Middle is a founding member of Odd Pods Media.
Thank you for tuning in at episode number 161 of From the Middle. What is From the Middle, you might be asking? Well, From the Middle is a comedy, culture, entertainment, and interview-style podcast hosted by three middle-class guys living in the middle of America in the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that generally falls somewhere in the middle. While we never get political, we're just pretty centrist on all the topics that we enjoy talking about. What do dad shoes, new houses, the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky, and Fazoli's have in common? They're all things we talk about in this episode. It's a fun one. Enjoy the ride, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the Middle after dark over here.
That was a lovely krakouche, my brother.
See if it's bubbly good.
What are you drinking this evening? Diet whatever?
Diet whatever. Sprite Zero.
Nice.
Fantastic. Man, I feel like as soon as we hit the old record button is when like my internet starts being like, okay, you're on. And flutter.
And cut.
Flutter. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you trying to talk?
Was there something you wanted to do right now?
So I think that I found what's going to be my dad shoe moving forward. And I've always been kind of funny about my shoes. I have always cared about what my feet look like. And I sort of landed on a couple of things in my life. One is boots. I like big and clunky boots. Like wide-toed cowboy boots I've always loved, and work boots have been like my go-to-work thing. I've never been a work shoe guy, been a work boot guy. And then for my casual wear, I have found that Air Force Ones by Nike just fit my feet beautifully. And so ever since I learned that, like I have literally always had Air Force Ones like in my shoe rotation. It has always been my casual shoe ever since the very first pair I bought a while ago. So I needed a pair of shoes because my old ones were hurting my feet. And it was time to retire the current Air Force Ones. And so I saw I'm a size 14, which makes it hard to find shoes.
Hey, big boy.
And my internet's crapping out again.
I got you.
Hashtag humble brag.
Humble.
I'm a size
and
14
wide width too. Wide width.
Whoa, hey,
Okay. All right.
14 Magnum.
What they say is not true. Wide width, but I had found in the Air Force Ones that they are cool if I don't get the wide width ones. And so I was looking on Dick's Sporting Goods website, and where they had lots of options for size 14, which is odd for me, and some stuff that was on sale, which was very exciting for me. And so I go in and start trying things on. I tried on several pairs of shoes. There's one pair of shoes I tried on, and I'm like, you, sir, shoe, have usurped the Air Force One throne.
Big news.
It is my new dad shoe that is more versatile than the Air Force One. I'm going to be wearing it all kinds of occasions. It's already been all over Michigan. And it's a shoe that I always swore to myself I would never wear because I thought that guys who wear these shoes casually are the dorkiest people in the world. But I didn't want to take the shoe off my foot. Here it is.
Oh, Merrill's.
The hiking shoe. I look like a dad who's trying to take his kids camping shoe.
Mm-hmm.
Says the guy who
wearing
just
them with
took his
jeans
kids
is like
camping.
true. I just don't want to look like that guy. You know what I mean? And I certainly don't want to wear something like that with jeans. I think that looks completely dorky. But I'm a jeans forever guy as well. And so jeans and Merrell's it is. I don't care what anybody thinks, including my old self.
A From the Middle exclusive, Kendall's casual shoe has been usurped by the Merrell.
I can't wait to see you in the studio next. I'm imagining your new shoes, tall white tube socks, carpenter jean shorts, a white t-shirt with a fishing vest and a safari hat. And who knows what's in your pockets, because you plan all kinds of unique stuff in those.
I had everything in my pocket.
But imagine the fishing vest now that'll go with those and all those pockets that you can fill.
With his Columbia breathable fishing shirt, his yellow.
I was gonna say, I've got. I mean, I have like 4 Columbia fishing shirts. 2 of them are like that style with like the many pockets and the vent in the back.
Yeah,
this is. I mean, I'm wearing a fishing shirt right now. It's just not one of those. It's like a long sleeve.
Yeah, and 3 of the 4 are hunter green, and the 4th one is dark hunter green.
So what sold you, Kendall? What was it that made you go, wow? Just the comfort level?
It was like shoes that I put on new out of the box did not feel like they needed to be broken in, for one. I couldn't feel the arch at all, which meant it was in the right spot. And that's rare for me to find. I don't know if everybody has that problem, but like I could not feel the arch in the shoe, which meant that it's hitting where it needed to be. And one of my favorite things about the shoe is that the heel is like, it's like reinforced. It's like a super stiff heel, which means that like the slip on and like, put your fingers back there and pull your shoe on without having to tie it is so easy because the heel does not flop. And so I see these being like eventually a keep it tied and you can just step into it without even bending over kind of shoe in the future. I think they're going to break into that point. But I don't know. I just feel like I don't need wide width on these ones. Everything just fit. Oddly enough, they feel better when I'm up and walking around than when I'm sitting in them. If I'm sitting down, they're just on my feet. My heel starts to ache a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. I can feel it. If I get up and start walking, good.
Just think of all the walking around Buc-ee's you could do in those shoes.
Exactly.
You could look at beef jerky and Buc-ee's branded gear for hours.
I know. I can get like a half lap around the whole store.
That's incredible.
So we've mentioned before on the podcast that we have a very loose outline in a shared note that we all operate from. And Kendall simply wrote in there something like, Kendall discovered new dad shoe, or talk about new dad shoe. I thought you were going to talk about something I just discovered, which is the Hey Dude. The Hey Dudes. Are you familiar with the Hey Dudes?
They sucked you in. The marketing worked, didn't it?
The marketing always works on me. I'm a gullible guy. All I need is a good story and I'm in. Tell me if you've ever heard these words together or ever thought these words would be together when referring to a shoe. Designed in Italy, acquired by Crocs.
What? Okay.
So Hey Dudes
right.
are boat shoes that just slip on, extremely comfortable, very cushioned sole, designed in Italy, and then Crocs acquired them. And I saw so many people wearing them at the beach a few weeks ago. A lot of dads wearing them, but they're a boat shoe. And
like a canvas boat shoe?
Like a canvas boat shoe. The heel is usually a different tone than the rest of the shoe, but they got that boxy look to them, like definitely like sides and a top. They don't lace. Okay. There are laces, but they're meant to be unlaced.
Yeah.
And I asked the guy while I was down there, I was like, hey, how do you like your Hey Dudes? He's like, it's like I'm wearing nothing at all. And I was like, whoa. I got to try these. So I got me a pair and I love those.
I had only seen some of the ads, and I just had a basic sense of what they were. I knew they were. By the way, it was never in on the croc face, so I wouldn't have used those to describe something because I never owned them. But somebody asked if I had heard of them, and I said yes. They said, "Do you know what they are?" And my ignorant reply was, "It's kind of like penny loafers meets boat shoes." I don't know. It just felt like the most appropriate.
Okay.
It felt like the most appropriate description. If you're on YouTube or following us or subscribing, you should be. If you're not, do it now. But if you're watching here, Corey's showing all kinds of hey dudes, and it just feels like that sort of dress them up, dress them down. Wear them business casual, wear them on the go, wear them on your yacht when you're harpooning a fish from 30 yards out off the whatever Andy Bernard does. And that's kind of how it feels like. That's the area. That's the area that they're trying to cover. These are
the ones I have right here.
They look fine,
but they come in all kind of colors. And
you know what they look like to me? Every now and then Walmart would make a shoe that was decently stylish, and you'd ask somebody, "Oh, those are kind of nice. Where'd you get those?" And like, Walmart, $20. And that's kind of what they remind me of.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. I'm not knocking them. If you like, hey dudes, more power to you. But that's just kind of what they reminded me of.
Dylan, how are you embracing your inner dad, the next chapter of your life this week?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that. So for anyone who doesn't know, we close on our home as of recording this in like less than 12 hours. So we'll have keys, and by the next episode, I'll be dead or close to. But it's funny, we've been doing some shopping. So while we were saving up for a down payment, we did some extra savings so that when we bought a house, we could get some new things that we had not bought new versions of in a very, very long time. For an electronics guy, I've had the same TV since like 2007, which is an eternity to somebody who's into electronics. A hand-me-down entertainment center, not just electronics, but those are a couple of things. So anyways, we're also looking at some new furniture because we're doing a new TV entertainment center and want to do a new couch in what's our finished basement. Mm-hmm. And so the problem is, when you've been selling for a while, you sort of get annoyed by people who aren't very good at selling. And I never tell them what I do, and nobody even asks anymore your name, let alone what you do or whatever. But there's always a part of me that's like, I don't want to say sell because I don't want to put them on edge at all. But then when they're so bad at it, it's frustrating. People just like, I don't know what you're here for, but let me show you around the whole store. We're trying to find like a very specific kind of couch with certain measurements that'll fit in a certain space. It would be very easy to help narrow down if they said, what are you looking for? Like, do you have any specifics? We could say, yes, we need it to fit this area, and it can be a sectional or it can be two pieces, but it's got to stay in this much space. So it'd be pretty easy to help narrow it down, but it is a little fun watching some of the tactics that they think are effective when selling furniture. And what I mean by that is, so we went into one place. I won't name any names, but we went into one place that was a pretty big store. They had lots of furniture, and he's the salesperson is describing tiers of furniture. So there's bronze, there's silver, there's gold, and there's platinum. So this is how he wants to relay to shoppers without having asked what our budget is at all. This is how he wants to relay what the tiers are for. He said, is this something that you're going to use regularly? I said, well, yeah, I mean, not, this is going to go in our basement, but we will use it regularly, not maybe every day. But I said, well, the bronze tier is where everything starts. If you want furniture for maybe a year, that's what you would buy. And so as if the bronze tier furniture is all going to implode on itself after 12 months, that's, so then you can kind of see where things are going. The silver tier, now the silver tier might last you 1 to 3 years. The gold tier is 3 to 5 years, and the platinum tier is long-term. You can long-term furniture if you want to buy something and not have to replace it soon. And so very strong language about. Now, mind you, we have pretty average furniture that we've had for like 7 years with a 4-year-old for 4 of those years. That would have probably been bronze tier before.
Yeah.
And here we are, and it's lasted. Again, not asking any questions about anything that we've owned or expectations or what we're looking for, but just some of that kind of, everyone relates to it. You've all heard it before, any of the sales stuff. And it feels very similar to something else that my wife and I were buying. I think we were talking about buying cars, or when we were buying a car in December, and I said, here's a couple things that they're almost assuredly going to say while we're there. It's going to be either going to build a sense of urgency. That's going to, well, I can't hold this for you. It's that they're going to make fear of missing out. So you don't want to miss the deal. You don't want to miss this model. And so it's just kind of funny experiencing some of that when you've been doing it for a while. And I don't do anything remotely sleazy when I sell to people. That's not how I have ever sold or done business in the past. I don't believe in it. I think it's crappy, but it's pretty easy to identify. So it's made the whole shopping experience really funny, and also just like a drag when you're just like, people can't sense, the salesperson that just can't sense how the amount of time that you need in between talking to them. They just check in too frequently. They don't have a good sense of, it's any normal person would want at least 5 to 10 minutes if you're looking at furniture, and it's like every 45 seconds. You're like, that's way too fast, man. Like, you can't. Yeah, it's just been funny. I don't know what to say other than somebody's just trying to pay their bills and get their commission, but it is interesting. And I'm sure every industry has that, right? So like if you went into an art store and art supply store and some dude's trying to like hardcore upsell you on supplies you don't need for a job or something, and Kendall, you have that with audio video gear and music stuff, and like, well, if you want headphones that are going to implode, you're going to need to expend at least $1,000 on good headphones, It's like every industry probably has that. It's just been really funny living through that experience, and I'm immune to all of it. So I can just go, yeah, we're good. Or, well, we'll see you later. We don't need anything today. But man, it
is weird when you recognize the game. And it's like when Obi-Wan walks in and Kumail Nanjiani is trying to pretend like he's a Jedi to that family, and Obi-Wan, you're like, wait a minute. I know what you're up to. Your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me.
Yeah, it immediately feels off. And so, yeah, it's exactly what it is. So I'm sure you've had examples of like that in the past at some point. Whether you've been in sales or not, everyone can kind of pick up on some of that. But especially the whole like fear of missing out thing, and missing a sale. And there's a part of me that wants to just go, dude, are you kidding me? At 4th of July, Labor Day, there's going to be a Labor Day sale. There's going to be an October Halloween sale. There's going to be a Thanksgiving sale. There's going to be a Christmas sale. Like, you're going to put this stuff on sale every 3 to 6 weeks.
You're a furniture store. I'm going to be hearing about those on the radio every 3 weeks.
Like, there is no fear of missing out. Everything will be on sale at some point again, somewhere. I don't have to ever buy anything. It's going to be fine. So anyways,
there's going to be a big Sandy ad during the mid-roll of this episode, probably. Like,
it's more than likely.
Yeah. Check out our new platinum tier furniture packages. Anyways, those are the only ones that won't just fall apart and entrap your kids. So if you're going to buy anything, spend at least $8,000 to $10,000.
Oh, well,
that's all I'm doing.
It's exciting times. I cannot wait for you to close on your first home. Man, it's going to be fun when we do a big housewarming party and get to hang out and see it for the first time.
It'll be very exciting. Background for anyone who doesn't know, we rent a house now, and it's been a lovely situation for as long as we've needed it, but it's been small. We talked a little bit about on the last episode, there's one bathroom. And so when there's 3 human beings in one bathroom, that can present challenges at times. I've seriously considered some of the drainage pipes in my basement as options, when an emergency arises. So it'll just be good. Be good to have a little bit more space to not only entertain, but also use the restroom in peace.
That is a funny thought process to have, going around to all of the different drainage pipes and thinking, okay, that's a liquids only. This one's okay for solids. And just saying. How many garbage disposals have you gone through at this point?
Could I use a bag and then immediately throw it in the trash outside? Could I?
That's what we've been doing for our daughter. Why not me?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep, you do what you got to do. It's very exciting. I'm sure I'll have some kind of update, and then all the things that goes with houses unpacking and painting and all that stuff. It'll be fun.
I'm excited for the inevitable recognition of like, oh, I don't own a fill in the blank.
Oh yeah.
Those like home ownership things of like all those little things you don't think about needing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm responsible for fixing that.
Yeah. I already had a few of those moments at Costco. We were walking around and they had a delightful sale on a Vaughn painting package. And it was, I don't know, 2 rollers, 2 small brushes, all kinds of little tools. It's like $16.99 for probably like a 20-piece painting set or something like that. Like, I better get 2. And then they had fire extinguishers. I'm like, gonna need one of those. Gonna need a good fire extinguisher. So like all of that stuff, like more so now than ever, Costco will be the most dangerous because in my head, everything's a deal there. And then I'm going to start just seeing things. You know what? I don't have a safe yet for my guns and money. And here's a perfectly good one with a cool looking giant wheel on the front for $1,800. So I look forward to all the things that I snag at Costco here in the coming years.
You have never thought about how old your water heater is.
Fortunately on this one, the roof and the big stuff are all new within the last 4 or 5 years. So
there you go.
I'm doing pretty good. Fingers crossed on that one. So things will inevitably break though. So I have to be prepared.
It's part of the joys of home ownership, and we are excited to help in whatever way we can. I'm speaking for myself. Sorry, Kendall.
No, hey. I'm the closer of the 3 brothers.
That's right.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys do anything fun this past weekend?
Just prepping for moving. I don't remember. All the days have blurred together. I got nothing. We're still watching through Ted Lasso. That's what we've got going for us. Still watching through Ted Lasso.
We I don't know. Finished Obi-Wan. Streaming stuff isn't all that exciting for me right now because it's still just all about sprinting through The Sopranos. However, this past week was just a busy week, generally speaking. We were worshiping outside on our front lawn on Sunday morning, which it just is a whole new logistical thing. And then I was also preaching on Sunday, which added another layer to it all. So it was a busy week. And now today, on the day that we're recording this on Monday, has just been a big breath of relief that the weekend went well. And now here I am on a day where I can just kind of do normal things.
Yeah.
So that's been good. Corey, I know that you have had some excitement in the past week.
Yeah. Well, first I was going to ask, how'd the preaching thing go? Feel it?
It went good. We're preaching on Lamentations, so everybody cries, but it's
cool.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Which is crying is very biblical. Yes. I got to be a part of a guys' weekend down in Kentucky and visited a few distilleries on the Bourbon Trail, which I thought was an actual trail that you could walk and visit multiple distilleries. I very quickly learned that while some are close to one another, no, it's like a whole region that you have to drive between places.
Your friends were like, why did Corey bring his Merrills?
Why did Corey bring his Merrills and a walking stick?
Yeah, it's not like there's stickers on the ground around the mall that you just like.
That's what I thought it kind of was like. But I'm like, these got to be big places. And why would competitors put their buildings right next to each other?
Heaven Hill Trail is left.
So that was really fun and sucked it up in a round of golf at the University of Kentucky golf course. But just had a good fun. These were not things that I would necessarily choose to do based on my interests, but it was about, celebrating one of my buddy's birthdays. And so it was just a nice guys weekend. And it was really fascinating because we visited two very different distilleries. One is Buffalo Trace, which has like something like 60 brands of bourbon and a few other types of spirits that they make, which has a very historied past with multiple owners and acquisitions and mergers dating back to the early 1800s. And then we visited Maker's Mark, which is a very small family-owned brand with one mash bill and one primary brand, and has been in one family the whole time, and a much smaller operation. So I feel like it was really cool in that we got to see big, lots of capital, long history, and then relatively new small family operation doing the same exact thing. So that was really neat. Each one we did a tour and tasting. I learned a lot. I didn't really know a lot about the distilling process or why Kentucky is known for bourbon, and why it's bourbon from Kentucky, but whiskey everywhere else. So those were all fun things to learn. And I like I've said before on the podcast, it's always fun for me to dive headlong into something I know very little about and just soak it all in and get to be part of the experience. So yeah, it was fun.
What do you think was one of the most unique things that you learned about the process or the history from either location?
So there's a documentary series on Netflix right now called Heist. And Heist, from what best I can tell, is a short season of famous heists or things that got stolen, money, products, or services. The last two episodes of the first season are called The Bourbon King Part 1 and Part 2. And it's a real story of, in 2013, an employee stole tons of cases of Pappy Van Winkle, one of the rarest and hardest to come by bourbons from the Buffalo Trace distillery. They think about $1 million worth of Pappy Van Winkle, and was distributing it to friends and local lawyers, doctors, and businessmen in the area. And so in this documentary, it talks about why bourbon sort of exploded as the cool gentleman's spirit. And they credit a lot of it to like Mad Men and Don Draper ordering old fashions. And it just so happens, it's one of the many contributing factors. It's certainly not the only thing, but it was like the cool drink to drink was martinis, like James Bond, right? Gin or vodka. And then it was like Don Draper, people hadn't really heard of old fashions, but John Hamm looks so cool drinking those drinks in that series. And then a bunch of like millennials and hipsters started getting into bourbon. And naturally, when you get into a thing, you're like, what is the hardest to come by thing in this lane? And it just happens to be Pappy Van Winkle. And so to answer your question, Dylan, I think the most interesting thing is that the differences between the cheapest low shelf bourbon at your local grocery store and Pappy Van Winkle, which a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle right now goes for something like 23 year, goes for like $5,000 online. The differences in that are very subtle things. And usually it's just time. One has aged longer than the other. But even in the vast differences are very, very subtle things. And so that was probably the most interesting. Like, we're talking about just a couple units of time, or where it sits in the warehouse floor. The higher it is, the hotter it's going to be, versus the cooler it is if it's lower on the warehouse floor. Those are separated by a lot of money in stores. They sell the top of the building stuff to other companies as like the junk bourbon, but the really, really good stuff sits in the cooler. It's just like, you'd never think that the difference of a couple vertical feet ends up being a significant change in the retail space. So, and and then how two distilleries of the dozens and dozens that there are, by the way. That's not like there's just two. They're doing a very, very old process that started back with the moonshiners and the bootleggers, and they're just changing a couple small things about it, and they've solved for it in very different ways. So anyway, fascinating stuff. That documentary is really good. I highly recommend checking it out. The Heist series on Netflix. Skip right to episodes 5 and 6. Because a lot of the buildings that they show in that documentary, I was like, I was right there. We just saw that exact warehouse. Anyway, pretty cool.
Well, that feels like a great spot to let our listeners age a little bit, take a sip of their Pappy Van Pickle, and we'll be right back after they hear from one of our friends in the Odd Pods Media Network.
It's Pippi Van Winkle. It's Pippi Hommingwickle. Nichols.
Pippi Longwinkle.
Pickle. Pappy Van Schmidt. So I don't.
Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Richie.
I'm Little Matt.
And here in the 500 Section Lounge, we are three dads who host a family-friendly weekly podcast.
Yep, we laugh, we go on tangents, and we talk to great guests.
Tangents. I don't know what you're talking about with that. You know, there are gases leaking.
All right, okay.
Yeah, we have legendary conversations from sports to history and everything in between.
So be on the lookout for what we do next.
And always be there to
Grab a listen.
You start talking about whiskey, and I'm just like, I want to geek out and just like spit random things about.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. And here's the other thing I learned. I'm very easily entertained, and Dylan knows this. We've joked about this before. I hear about something, I get all about it, and then I move on to the next thing. I think it would take a very long time for me to appreciate the subtle differences in tasting the cheapest, lowest end bourbon and some of the fanciest. And I just don't know that I care enough to drive to certain liquor stores 3 states away and wait till the truck unloads the cases to get a chance to maybe get the opportunity to wait in line and buy something that tastes very subtly different from its cheaper counterpart. I also learned I'm never going to be good at golf.
Well, not all of us can drink Pippi von Strucker, and our golf games can't all be good. But I do want to hear about how you did. Were you the worst of the group? Were you the best of the group? Were you in the middle somewhere?
My strategy going in was I'm going to make them I'm going to talk about my golf game in such a way that they're going to be worried that I'm going to embarrass them on the golf course with the staff and the other golfers, so that the bar is so low that they might go, oh, okay, you made it sound like you were way worse. Or they go, you're about as bad as you made it sound. Let's just do a scramble, which is basically best ball, where you all 3 hit, and whoever has the best ball, the other guys pick up their balls, and they just hit from the location of the guy who had the best shot, which is a much more fun way to play the game if you're not good. I was pleased to hear at the turn, which is after 9 holes, the guy whose birthday it was goes, "You're not as bad as I thought." And sort of the joke amongst the casual golfer is all you need in 18 holes, which takes about 4 hours. If you have just one good shot that whole time, it's almost enough to convince you that you should take up the sport. Because one decent shot on a golf course is like, I'm a golfer.
You know, I've only golfed a small handful of times in my life, but one of the times that I golfed, I eagled a hole.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very proud of that. And it's like, I remember that. And if people start talking to me about have you golfed before, it's going to come out that I eagled once.
Yes.
Which is not an impressive thing to say to somebody who golfs all the time. But for me, that's the best I've ever done on a hole, and it felt nice.
I had one legitimate birdie And that was enough to just sort of like set. There were 5 holes I just didn't even play because I had tee shots and mulligans at that same tee shot that like you couldn't even find the ball. So I was like, you guys just play this hole. I'll take pictures so that you can remember this lovely day that we had. And I just smoked a cigar and let them play the hole and got to drive a golf cart. And it was as much fun for me. But that birdie was like, I hit on it was a par 3. So I hit, there was water surrounding the green. And then I had like a 30-foot putt for birdie. And I was like, I'm awesome at this game.
Yeah. Your initial tactic, by the way, with your cohort it's another sales tactic called under promise and over deliver. Yep. There we are. And I feel the same way. Many games that I've played of Mario Golf, you get 1 or 2 good eagles or birdies and you're just locked in for another round of 18. Fortunately, Mario Golf, you could probably play 18 in about a quarter of the time as actual golf.
Yeah.
So much faster. You can do it in air conditioning and have a whole bag of Taco Bell beside you as you do it, which makes it fun.
Can you believe that being outside with other people is part of the point that a lot of folks like?
So weird.
I
just expect with the new house, other people are going to want to come inside my house and then I can spend time with them. So,
and like, we'll go back to the bourbon thing because there's probably a correlation here too. But like what it takes to get good at golf is 4 hours a shot, 4 hours a round and $50. So to get good at it, you're committing significant time and resources to getting good at it. To get good at bourbon drinking, all one has to do is just keep doing it.
I mean, it's cheaper than golf as a hobby for sure, but not necessarily cheap.
Yeah.
Depending on what your range there is. But yeah, whiskey is, we live in Ohio, which is a double controlled state, which means that the state controls both the wholesale and the retail. So what we don't see is the crazy high 5,000 bottle of Pappy in Ohio. We see just whatever the normal retail price of Pappy is. But the trick is you can't find it anywhere, right? So that's the thing, because
except for secondhand market.
Yeah. So secondhand market is probably the only way someone's going to buy it around here. And even that, like I think like online booze buying in Ohio has only recently been legal. So there's that too. But yeah, no, it's so weird that I've heard the same thing about Pappy. So I'm in a couple of Facebook groups on whiskey related Facebook groups, which is like we've talked about before. The only thing really that I use Facebook for when I'm on there is for just these few little interest groups. And they often talk about this, that like, man, rarity is such a small factor in taste. Like it's worth getting to know the industry and spending your money more wisely than it is just like listen to everybody and chase after Pappy, because a lot of those guys in this group have had Pappy and have told everyone else, don't bother buying Pappy. As a matter of fact, like there's some bottom shelf stuff that are really popular in like the whiskey connoisseur group.
Do you take a wild guess at what's bringing Buffalo Trace the most dollars of all of their brands? And you don't have to know all of them. Weller, Taylor, Stag, Pappy, Eagle Rare, like all these brands.
I think right now the most popular is Buffalo Trace.
Fireball.
Fireball? Oh, I didn't know that was a Buffalo Trace thing.
Fireball is a cheap cinnamon infused, so it's technically not even allowed to be called bourbon, because bourbon must have the 4 main ingredients: corn, rye, malted barley, water, or wheat in place of the rye. And so because cinnamon is in
I don't think bourbon has to have all four. I think that's just your list.
that is
It has to be 51% corn, and then it can be any of
Right.
these other things, but nothing else.
but nothing else. That's the key. There was a law passed and blah, blah, blah. You can't call it bourbon if it has something else. So whatever combination or percentage of those other four things. Anyway, it's like popular with college students, and that is like their main income that's allowing them to double production. So they're doubling their warehouse spaces. They're doubling production on all fronts. And the main thing fueling all of that is Fireball whiskey. Because they don't see the profits from $5,000 a Pappy, because that's on secondhand markets.
Yeah.
Because they sell it for regular, like whatever. Eagle Rare at their store goes for $100 a bottle in the secondhand market. Eagle Rare was $34.
Yeah.
But limit one per person every 90 days.
Sure.
So they scan your driver's license, and that's how your name is tied to your wristband. And you scan your wristband when you check out, and they know that you can't buy again for 89 days.
Did they have you did they put like new make stuff? So like stuff before it was aged, and like put in your hand and have you do this and smoke?
No.
That's a trippy thing to do on some bourbons that are like all corn or almost all corn. You can often do that. Just put like a couple drops in your hand, rub your hands together so that it kind of like dissolves or dissipates or whatever, and then smell your hands. And it's like you're smelling a cornfield. It's like you have fresh corn in your hand. It's crazy. Like the alcohol's gone, and you have this like unmistakable corn smell.
That's amazing.
And it's pretty cool.
Dylan, you would have loved the history of these old-timey entrepreneurs and how this all came together. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, I always enjoy that kind of stuff. I would be better suited a place that serves food while you're hearing about history. But I think that stuff's really interesting. And History Channel, whether you like them or not, in A&E, they'll do shows like The Food That Built America, and that's a really good where they'll do food and drink, and so you'll get some of the history of some of those like bourbon and moonshine and some of the different stuff that's been popular over the years. So that's a really good outlet for people that want something that you can kind of Google if you can't go visit all these places, but you like learning more about especially food, drink. Because normal history of buildings isn't always interesting to people. But when and that's kind of the like how it's made was kind of the original version of that, right? Because they would do all kinds of anything that could be manufactured, they would throw together a how it's made video and you'd get to see. That would be another really good version for anybody that likes that kind of stuff.
Here's a quick funny story. So we had an amazing tour guide. Shout out to Josh O over at Buffalo Trace. He was so funny, very informative and knowledgeable, and just did a great job. Held our interest the entire 1 hour tour. So Buffalo Trace got through Prohibition in the US, and it maintains its title as one of the longest running distilleries at one location in the entire country, because it did not shut down during Prohibition, because the government gave them a special permit to produce bourbon only for medicinal purposes. So if you got a cold or a sniffle or stubbed your toe or had a headache, Buffalo Trace Distillery was still making bourbon. And so they said there were 6 million scripts in Kentucky alone for whiskey, a pint of whiskey for medicinal purpose, when the population of the state was only 2 million at the time. That might have been within the first year or like within the first couple years of Prohibition.
SEC. Sorry.
So that was kind of funny. Yeah.
For Kentucky.
Good times. Speaking of 3 people in one bathroom, so my buddy did a great job picking out a Airbnb that was central to the 2 distilleries and golf course. It was in a town called Lawrenceburg and was a 3-person, 2-bedroom, 3 beds Airbnb with only 1 bathroom. in the master bedroom. So our buddy had to wait until we were done using the restroom for the day, and then in the middle of the night, I'm like, I'm gonna have to sneak into we're friends, but we're not like super close. I'm gonna have to like sneak into his room if I have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So that was kind of interesting.
Unless you had an empty bottle of bourbon, you could go Dumb and Dumber, just pee in the bottle.
There you go.
And I have to say one last thing about a place that we stopped, because I promised the chef that I would. We stopped at a barbecue place in Frankfort. So if you're in Frankfort, Kentucky, go to Trifecta Barbecue, where I think it's Tony or Troy. Oh, I think it's Tony. Tony will make you a turkey ribs that are, I've never even heard of turkey ribs in barbecue joints. It's actually the shoulder or the scapula of the turkey, but he smokes it so that the skin is a little crispy and the inside is super tender. We've talked about how turkey is the worst meat. I dipped that in their yellow barbecue sauce. You guys, it's one of the best things I've ever put in my mouth hole.
Wow.
And that's quite a list.
It is.
So shout out to Trifecta Barbecue Bar and Grill in Frankfort, Kentucky. And my dude, thank you for the turkey ribs. Amazing.
Interesting.
That's all I got.
That's it. We should do a shout out to Artius, man.
We should.
Our favoritist and bestest ever BFF, lots of hearts, the number 4 EVEAH. Artius, man. Go to artiusman.com. Put so much stuff in your cart, you're concerned your card will get declined. And then use promo code the middle, because it'll save you 25% off your first order and your card won't get declined. But you'll have so much awesome new stuff that you're never, ever, ever going to regret it. And they make incredible products: beard oil, beard balm, beard butter, beard conditioner, beard shampoo, beard wax. There's face and body care. They've got super sweet merch. You can get candles, hair care, shaving products, so many good things. Again, artiusman.com. Use promo code the middle. You're never going to regret it, because the products are incredible. So go check it out. They're great friends of ours. It helps them. It helps you. It helps us. And they're super fantastic partners of ours.
Indeed. Is beard butter edible?
If you want it to be.
Okay.
It's all natural. So go ahead, man.
Yeah, because all natural is like saying safe.
Yeah.
And not poisonous at all.
100%.
Nothing in nature kills people. That's right.
You know,
that's what we know.
It's funny you say that. Do you know what restaurant I noticed still has the word fresh on their sign? You're never going to guess. So I'll just tell you: Fazoli's.
Oh, Fazoli's.
If there's anyone that I think of as not fresh.
Yes.
I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong. It's much in line with Chef Boyardee.
I had Fazoli's for the first time in years, many years. There's only I think 3 left in the whole country. And one of them happens to be around me. I saw it on the DoorDash, ordered it. They had a family thing, and I ordered that. And for not just me, for other folks too.
It's fine.
And, but the deal on it was amazing. That I was kind of like, well, it's Fazoli's, so we'll see. But it was actually remarkable, and the kids even were all about it. And the breadsticks were better than I remembered. It was a delightful experience.
You have a good one. You have a good one beside you, then,
man. So I mean, I've always kind of been I remember always being kind of partial to Fazoli's. It was just a good change of pace, when you're out with your friends and none of you have any money and you're like, let's not do Chipotle this time. I'm like, Fazoli's is a good place to go.
Yeah.
And so I've always liked Fazoli's, but I don't know. I had a really great experience very recently at Fazoli's.
Fazoli's real Italian, real fast.
Right.
Was that the jingle?
Yeah, maybe. Should be. Should have been.
Anyway, well, hey guys, it's been fun hanging out. We'll keep this one short and sweet. I think we were We were running dry there. Right at the end. It's been fun hanging out. Thanks for joining us. Do the Artiest Man thing. We love all of you. Be kind to one another, as Kendall always writes in our episode descriptions. And we will see you next Wednesday on From the Middle.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Was that toilet paper? Did I just see toilet paper? Is Dylan heading to the sump pump?